All right. Welcome. We want to talk today about compilation books as a business model and why to do them. Um, Hey, Anne, I don't have a lot of people here. Don't know why, but I wanted to I'm going to do like a short call so we can talk about compilation books, why they're good business models for the right people, like yourself, people who have communities, people that are hosting events, people that have a group of clients, like a mastermind or a membership program, or even if you're have a program in itself. But um, yeah, I'm open. I am recording, but I don't usually give out the recordings of this. And I have a whole bunch of example books I could show you and talk to you about why it's such a great idea for the host, the author, and the readers. So,
I'm really excited. I'm really excited. You and I talked about it the other day, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm
yeah.
here to listen and
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
um,
if anybody else is going to show up. People are always late to these things, but okay. Yeah, I'll just be brief, like literally 5, 10 minutes on the why. The why is number one, people are looking for income streams, right? They're looking for more clients. And yes, you can get more clients into your regular programs, products, and services. That's great. But if it's slow, maybe you have a program that's a 5,000 or a 10,000 investment. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need one. Maybe you've been waiting to launch it. But this could be a part of something that you're already planning to launch, number one. So it can just be an added bonus. Most people in the entrepreneur world understand the value of being an author because it adds credibility, authority. You become the expert in whatever it is you're talking about. When you have a printed book, I don't care if it's your full book or if you're one of the authors in the back, right? So that would be a compilation book or an anthology. I got on TV with my very first book. I was a very first book that I wrote a chapter in. I got on my local TV station and they said, "Welcome, the author of the Power and Soul book." And I'm like, okay, well, I'm one of like, I think it was 40 authors or something like that, 42 entrepreneurs. So there's 42 entrepreneurs in this book, and we all paid $2,500. So do the math. So first of all, it's not easy to get 42 people in a book. I will tell you that. Okay. So that is the extreme. This person, Allie Brown, was my very first mentor, and she would hold events of like 150 people. And so it's a little bit easier when you have a following like that. She'd have 3 events a year and bring in lots of people and lots of clients into her masterminds and programs. And so she had quite a bit of following. And
I also was a Allie Brown follower.
were you good? Yeah, I worked with her
Yeah.
for 2 years in her mastermind.
Oh
Um,
wow.
And I got in there right before she changed it to 100 grand investment. Woo, I slipped right in
Yeah.
before and got her for, I'll say cheap because she was really good. A great first coach. Um, and then, so there's that. So it's not just about getting in the book, it's what you do with it after, right? So I actually put
Mhm.
a press release out and I went to my local TV station. I actually ran into a local news anchor at a networking event locally after this came out. And I said, "Oh, yeah." She was like, "Oh, I'm writing a book." And I'm like, "Oh, you are? Good. Mine just came out." And she's like, "Oh, you are? We should have you on the show." And I'm like, "Yes, you should." And it was that easy. And it was really that easy to get on TV. And so it, I resonated with, or I connected with the anchor at an event. Now, you don't always find them out and about at events, but you can. And you can also just reach out to them, which is what I've done for the subsequent times I've been on TV. And I've been on TV multiple times for having books and having an expertise in a specific topic. I even got on TV for online dating advice. And because I was on TV talking about my book, Love Yourself Successful, and then I happened to share some random story about finding my husband and online dating nightmares. And oh my God, I have stories. The producer caught me on the way out of the studio on that interview and said, "We're going to have to come have you back talking about online dating." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I did. I'm not a dating expert, but I was on TV about it. So it doesn't matter. I'm just saying they're just avenues for marketing, So
But
as it's easy to be an author in a book, And it can be easy to be the host too when you have someone like me who's done a gazillion of these. Okay, not a gazillion, maybe a few dozen. And I have systems for it. I have team. I know how to do this accordingly. And I'm really good at spotting the chapters that need zhuzhing. Like I've done some books where the stories were really deep. Like there's all kinds of books you could do. You can do positive ones like Step into the Spotlight, Amazing Women of Influence. These are all compilations. You can do ones that are practical, tactical, like my Jumpstart Your Blank series. I did that for 6 years with about 80 different authors who are part of this series. Um,
Wow. Wow.
and you can also do Six Figure Chicks. I
Yes.
started this series with Mel, the owner of Six Figure Chicks.
I
Now
love
it's a
Mel.
movement. It's a nonprofit. She's published like 5 or 6 of these. She has red carpet. She has swag for Six Figure Chicks. She has events for Six Figure. I mean, she has
Yeah.
blown up the Six Figure Chicks brand because we did this originally a few years ago. And we planned out the idea for it. I'm sure the books are very similar. She's just changed the cover and she's just gone to town. It's now her entire brand of
Yeah.
her company.
And Mel is
So,
great.
right? And so she's giving platforms and audiences and ways for her authors to be seen. And she's, like I said, she's got red carpet events. You don't have to do all of that, but sometimes you can add value to the investment. Someone's just to be in a chapter. Most people just charge you money and you write a chapter and they publish a book and you do a launch and then nothing happens. Right.
Mm,
And you
mm.
might get 1 or 2 or 3 copies of the book. Sometimes people give you 10 copies of the book. I personally think we should give more copies of the book to the authors. Of course, they can always buy more copies to have on hand. But I've put my Jumpstart Your Blank books with all my authors in it in swag bags at events, like to the tune of 450 swag bags. So I've done that twice with this book, various different colors, and to like the Polka Dot Powerhouse conference a few years back. I bought the book at author cost and I submitted it to the swag bag. Nobody
It,
else paid me for that. That was just me promoting my authors and my book. And in the back of the book, it always says, "Do you want to be an author?" So it's marketing to get into my next books, right? So,
but that's what persuaded me to talk to you
okay.
because I read a book, one book that I got, I think it was Colleen's book.
Uh-huh.
I looked at the chapters and I thought, that's it? That's all I have to do?
Yeah.
The chapters were like,
Usually
I
they're
did college,
1,500 to 2,000 words.
I
Yeah.
did college essays that were longer.
Yeah, they're about 1,500 to 2,000 words. So it can be very easy for someone to do a
I,
chapter. I encourage people that come to me that want to write their own full book. Yet, the reason and that's fine. So people that have time and money to invest in writing their own full book, they should write their own full book. But if you're building your business, you don't have a lot of time, you have multiple topics of things you speak on or things that you do in your business, then it makes sense to have multiple compilation books where you teach those things individually in those different books. And then each of those books becomes that book lead gen for that talk or that program. And because it's much harder to write a whole full book. Trust me, I'm in the process of writing a book right now and I'm not getting to it. So like it's just easier to write a quick chapter. It's a blog post, it's a long, social post and that kind of thing. So for the authors, it's great. It's great positioning. It's easy to do. They get shown how to write the chapter. So, like the book that I did with Mel is so much different in the formatting inside than, say, the book I did with Colleen.
mm,
We had different strategies on what we wanted the authors to write about, and so the co-host and I brainstorm on what you want the book to be about. For example, this one is not something I recommend. I love Susie Pruden. She is a really good friend of mine, but the itty bitty book of words is not itty bitty. It is a gigantic book that nobody cares about. Now, I wrote a chapter, or just not even a chapter. It's a word, like I wrote a description in my bio. That's all I had to do. Now, this book costs $150 to be a part of. Okay. So, like,
Oh.
but you could do this where you just charge a minimal amount and then people just get a page or two. But I don't necessarily recommend it because who wants to read it and how will it position you? So, this is an example of what not to do, really. Even though I love her, that's the only one she's ever done like that. You can also give people questions to answer if they don't feel like they're writers. A lot of people don't feel like they're writers. And so you either have to convince them that we can help them write their chapter, which is what I do with the author calls that we do together when I'm doing a compilation book with somebody. I do calls with your authors and I teach them. And once we figure out what the plan is for the book and what we want the book to do and the theme of it and how we want it to flow, then I teach the authors how to really write their chapter. So it takes the load off the host of it from having to figure all that stuff out. You don't do this every day, I do. So you don't have to worry about that. You just have to bring in the people that are interested in getting featured in these books. Now, if they don't feel like writers, some people will take a questionnaire and they'll give all their writers the questionnaire, and the writers will just answer the questions, and then they'll compile the questions and answers into the chapters. I don't think those are such as compelling, although I was in this book too with my friend Holly, who I love. Okay. It's a really great, easy way to get people to get their chapter done is just to have them answer some questions. In fact, you can even interview it out of them on a Zoom call with them talking and transcribing so they don't really have to sit and write anything. So that is a way to do it. I don't know that I would focus on that unless you really had to. Um, let's see.
Kind of brilliant though.
It isn't brilliant. Now, there's somebody else that I know. I was just talking to her, and she's doing a summit. So she's doing a summit first. You pay to be on the summit, and then they transcribe your summit interview or talk, and then
Yeah.
they put that into your chapter and they make
Yeah.
a book of it. Again, I think the way we talk and the way we write is not the same. And so I don't know that I'd recommend that strategy either, but it could work. I always think of what is your book going to do for the reader? Because if the reader's not entertained or energized or excited or interested, they're not going to read the book, which means the authors aren't going to get the call to action and get more leads. So we have to make the book good for the reader. I don't care what it takes, but the reader has to be interested in it. So we make a book that's good for the reader, and then we make it a win-win for the host and the authors. And that's what I look at. I look at all of
But I
that.
like the idea of doing an interview because at least then you can give them something to edit
Yes,
because
you could do
that
that.
that has been my experience in developing content. It's much easier for people to edit than it is for people to start from a blank sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That's
And so
that
we could do it however anybody, so whoever is the host who wants to do this, that's how we can do it. Um, like these two books, for example, I did both of these. This one cost me $97 to write a chapter. This one cost me $500 to write a chapter. Both of them went nowhere. Both of them brought in zero leads because the people hosting them didn't charge enough to want to do anything about promoting them, in my opinion. Okay. And this person is a very big promoter, but she did it for a money making thing for herself and didn't really put the book out there, in my opinion, enough to warrant the investment.
I'm
Okay.
shocked because she's the ultimate promoter.
I know, but promoter for herself. I'm just saying she's a promoter for herself and her own money making stuff. Trust. This person was, I think, just dabbling in it and wanted just a little bit of an income stream or something. And she's more of an online marketer. And so she didn't really take it to the offline place that the book needed to be, in my opinion, for it to really go bonkers. Um, And she's nothing wrong with this person at all. But she's an online marketer. And so a lot of times when people are doing a business model that doesn't fit their current business model, it doesn't fit, right? So we need to make sure whatever you're doing, it flows with what you're currently doing. Obviously, I'm helping people build businesses and make money doing what they love and market and position themselves and do the right website. So a book is hand in hand because we're speakers. We should have a book, right? So it makes sense in my business model. Now, this gal here, well, I would say these two people that wrote these books are not necessarily business coaches. This gal here was a coach, and she's still doing it, I believe. But oh, it's not her that I was trying to share. Well, she is a coach, and this is a good book. And these were great stories for sure. Um, and so were these, but this is more like, so this went hand in hand with Mary's business because she's a book coach. And you know that because you know her. But it was a great way to really help people get their stories out. And so these authors needed more handholding and assistance from Mary to really write their story. It wasn't something that I normally help. I help with more the positioning, the call to action, how to make you look good, how to tell your story with making people want what you got, and what do you call to action at the end to get people into your world, right? So I'm really look at the pages from that point. Um,
That's what you're like. Mary likes to help people write, but
mhm.
my understanding of what you do is, you know, getting out and helping promote, because I've seen you do it for other people,
Yeah.
and getting that, getting attention and getting sales, and that part is really big.
Yeah. And throughout those author calls that we do, I'm doing a compilation right now with another client who's got The Way She Leads is the name of the book. And so it's on people who how they talk about leadership in their career or their business or whatever they're doing or with their team or with their kids, even leadership. So I'm helping to finesse their chapters. Many people will write 3,500 words when the goal is 18. And so then I have to come in and figure out how to reduce the content so that it still relays the message they want and still makes them look good and still has the call to action, but does it in a lot less words. So there are usually word restrictions for a reason because we don't want a book that looks like this because nobody wants to read this. No, I'm just no, that's not true. Some people that like to read will read all these storybooks. But there's so many different options. I have another client who is a realtor and a home stager, and she brought in some of her friends that do organizing and mindset work and even healing to go hand in hand in this book. There's only 6 authors in this book, right, that we published. So it could be 6 authors, it could be 20 authors, maybe 25, but I don't know that I would go more than 25 authors. And if it's your very first book and you've never promoted like a book before, then I would count on monetizing with 10 just in case. Unless you have a big community and you have a lot of people that have interest in it, you could get 20, 25 easily. But if they've never seen you promote like this, then so that's why I would recommend maybe thinking about having a series, right? So not just one book, one and done, but maybe you're going to have a series this year. You do something on um, I'm doing my Power of Connection book, and next year I'll probably do something different. What's going to be timely? Ooh, might be AI or something like that. I might do a book about AI in your business and then capture people who are teaching stuff about AI or related topics. And then the next year, who knows? But I pick something that's usually relevant to the what's going on in the world, what's going on in the marketplace, right? Um,
Yeah, that's all like,
so let's talk money. So what are your costs in doing a compilation book versus what can you get paid to do? And what is responsibility? Because most of the objections that I have with people wanting to do this kind of thing is I don't have time to go and create this and do this project. It's a project, right? There's a lot of project management involved. And I can do that for you if you want me, but like it's a good income stream regardless. So the time and then like how much am I really going to make? What are the expenses? What's a realistic expectation? Some people that teach this will say, "Oh, you can get 25, people paying you $3,500." Well, what's a realistic expectation? Honestly, most people are paying around $2,000 right now for this kind of opportunity. Maybe a little bit more if they're getting more value. So if you're adding in a summit, like I'm adding in a summit this year with my authors, you can add a summit, and as long as you know how to host a summit and facilitate a 1 day summit with all your speakers, you can add value, and so they have that extra thing. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. It doesn't really cost you any money to run a summit. It just you have to market it, and you might need a person to sit on the line, or you might need someone to do a couple web pages or something like that. So it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money to do that to add value. Other things I've seen to add value is you give people stage opportunities if you have an event, or you give them sponsorship opportunities, or you put stuff on your website, or you send an email blast on their behalf with their information. There's lots of things you could do without spending more money to give more value so that you can raise the investment for the people that are coming in on the book, right? Because if you do only get 10 people, which is fine, but 10 besides yourself, 10 times 2,000, that's $20,000, right? And so if you get 10 at 3,000, that's $30,000. And that could be the biggest difference because usually if I have a book with 10, 11 authors, I charge somewhere between $8,500 and $9,500 to do all the things for you. So that you have to look at that expense, right? So you do want to make sure it's high enough investment so that you can make 10 or $20,000 for your time and your part in facilitation of this project, which so your part in facilitation as the host is to find the people that are interested. I can help you position it, show you what to put on a web page to sell it, show you how to talk about it to sell it, make sure you have the right payment plans and all that so it's easy to buy, right? So I can help you with that process, which I do. And then the other thing you have to do is show up to the author calls. I can run them if you want to, but you can run them and we can co-run them. So I can talk about the logistics and the project and you can inspire them or whatever it is you want to do. But you have to show up to the author calls. I guess you don't have to if you don't want to, but that would be a good thing.
Yeah, be better.
Technically.
Yeah.
Then you have to promote when we do the launch. You can read the chapters, but you don't have to because I'm reading them. And then there's an editor that does it, that reads them. So you don't have to even read the chapters. I mean, you don't. You don't have to interview them. You don't have to have one-on-one calls with the authors. You don't have to do any of that. You need a web page to sell the opportunity. You need to be able to take credit cards and you need to have conversations to get people sold and get into the book. And then you have to have a few calls with me so that we can plan the book theme and the process so that we can plan out what to do with the marketing and the launch. And so I know how to create all the marketing materials and all the things for you and your authors. Okay, so I do all of that work. And then any kind of instruction that I need to give you as far as everything's under your name. It doesn't go under my name on Amazon. It goes under the host account on Amazon. So you're in control of everything. You're not tied to me ever again. Like it's all under you, but I have to show you how to manage it so you can go
Mhm.
back in and make updates, which is relatively simple, but you'll have video recordings and you can just keep it in a folder. And then if you ever need to do anything with those books, you just go there, right? So I try to make it as easy as possible. I give you checklists, I give you a timeline, I give you instructional videos and tutorials on how to do almost everything throughout the whole process if you need it. And that's it. And then you do need to send the books to the clients, the authors, when you're done, which is easy because you just order on Amazon and send it off, and I show you how. We need to talk pricing, and we will when it comes in of what you're going to price the book and all the things, but it's relatively easy. to do the process.
And
So,
and then the books are also available on Amazon,
yeah.
so people can also put them in their Kindle if they want to.
Yeah, so we go the launch of a book launch. You've probably seen a bunch of them on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah,
We do the launch with the ebook, and so the paper book isn't on Amazon yet when we do the launch with the ebook because we don't want confusion happening from people buying one of the other types of books.
got
We
it.
only want them to buy the ebook for 99 cents or whatever it is that day.
Got
And
it.
then after that is done, we become a bestseller, usually maybe an international bestseller or number one. We slap that badge on the cover and update everything. And then we go live with the paperback at that time. And then you could do another launch if you wanted to with the paperback, or each author could promote their paperbacks to their own communities from there. And you don't even
Mhm.
have to go to Amazon. So I do recommend that's why we want the authors to have copies of the book because we want them to get excited about marketing it and selling it and taking it to events when they speak and giving it to
Yeah,
clients when they have. So we want them to have as many books as possible. And we
to get
want
them
to
in people's
encourage,
in
yeah, to keep
hands.
promoting and keep getting the book out there, right? I mean, this book was done, I don't even know, probably, I haven't thought about it in ages. I don't even know. It was done in 2011. 2011, I did this book. I got one copy from the, because I did $97, right? So like one
Oh, got
copy.
it. Got
And
it.
this is the copy because I never gave it away. I never did anything because I didn't even know how to buy more copies because she didn't have a system set up to buy more copies.
Oh.
Right? Okay. So she
So do
missed out
you, so you've
there.
learned all
I've learned a lot of
the,
lessons.
yeah, I was going to say you've taken all the books you've been in and learned how to,
I've learned all
uh,
the lessons. Yeah.
yeah, learned all the pitfalls and mistakes and
I've been in 18 compilation books where I wrote a
wow,
chapter or two or three in books
wow.
that includes mine. I've published an additional 15 at least compilation books on top of the 18 that I was in, maybe more, and any of them had anywhere from six to probably 15 authors. Yeah. So it's a lot of wrangling of cats and that kind of thing. And
I
so
know. I know.
there's a lot of work to be done to publish a book if you've not published a book yet, and actually do a launch, move all the pieces, right? Make sure you get the cover. I mean, I probably spend anywhere from 4 to 7 hours designing a cover. It's not done with AI, it's done with humans because AI does not get it right.
No,
And I don't get a bunch of options that way. So it's still done with
no.
humans. It still costs money to pay for the book cover, which I highly recommend, but it's 4 to 6 hours of my time that I manage that cover design. That's just one piece, right? It's about 4 hours of my time to manage the inside layout design. So that's the interior of the book and how to
Right.
make sure it looks cool and is enticing to read. It takes well, we do about 6 to 8 calls with the authors. So that's 6 to 8 hours of my time. We do about 10 hours with the host of the book in calls with me. That's about 10 hours. We do about 4 or 5 hours in KDP and Amazon setup and all the things there. And we do I spend about 5 or 6 hours during the launch 3 days, checking in and managing everything there. And there's a gazillion and then I have to read all the chapters. So I read all the chapters, I give feedback, sometimes even have calls with the authors. So that could take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours per author for me and my time. So if you added all that up, that's a lot of hours. So you can imagine that even 8,500 or 90 is not that much if you think about it. And I've been trying to figure out an easier, simpler way to charge for this. I try to charge the least amount as I can, but that does take a lot of time. So I'm just like outlining that so it's clear. I'm not just sitting here, sometimes I'm just sitting here, honestly, but some days I'm working my ass off doing all this stuff. So, and then of course, I didn't even talk about the marketing. So, yes, some of the marketing images and things can be done with AI now, thank God, but not everything. So, I still spend about 2 to 3 hours in the marketing
Oh,
creation
wow.
myself. And so, I don't even know what that adds up to, but it's
It's
well
a lot.
over 30 hours, I'm
It's a lot.
sure
Yeah.
for a compilation book. So, People say, well, why do you charge for all this stuff on some? Because I'm taking it off your plate as much as humanly possible.
Yeah,
And it's got to be a win for your authors, a win for you, and a win for me, or why would we do it, right? For all of us.
yeah.
So, what questions might you have beyond that?
Um, so it seems like you have a couple of different ways of getting authors to help write the chapters. And so there's some time. So I imagine that there's maybe an hour or two where we would brainstorm, right? That we would brainstorm about like getting specific about the overall topic of the book and then also,
Yes. With you and me, like a co-host and me.
yeah,
Yeah, for example, when Mel and I did this, she didn't want just a regular write your chapter and include the chapter. So then we had to brainstorm, well, how else could we put this information into place, right? And so we came up with three sections of the book, because it's all about six-figure chicks. People, so the only people that are a part of this book are people that are making six figures in their business. Those are the
right.
only people in the able to come in the book. So number one, it's exclusive. Number two, the section was our stories, how we got there. So most books are just the story, how we got there, and maybe a couple tips. But the first section of this book was all our stories. The second section was overcoming common objections. So myself and all the authors, we came up with a list of like 16, 17 objections, or obstacles, I mean, to getting to six figures. And so we listed all the obstacles in the book, and then we all gave answers to how we would do that. And so every author got at least five answers in the variety of these obstacle descriptions. So it was really creative. And then the section third was best practices and advice for becoming a six-figure chick. So that was the same things, like what are the top things that we do to get to or stay to six figures. And so we brainstormed a list of like 12 different things. And so we each wrote a blurb on those things. And then, yeah, so it's just quite different, right? But you don't have to get that creative. We can just do wham bam, let's get her done kind of a book, that kind of
No,
thing.
I think that's I mean, that is very creative. But it's good food for thought about
Mhm.
that that what you're saying, what you're talking about is not just one formula, right? You've got
There's
different
not. There's
ways.
different ways to position your book. We want to make sure it brands with the host, obviously. The colors we chose were specific for Mel's brand because she uses this green in her other company. And so we tied it in, right? We were very specific with some of these brands. Um, I will tell you. And the same thing goes for like, so Mary's book. So Mary's doing a series, and we knew that at the beginning. So we actually have two so far now. We have, and they both gone to bestseller. Did they both go number one? They both went to number one bestseller. So this was the first one, and this was the second one.
Mhm.
And they're very similar. So actually, the second one cost a lot less for her to do because we already had the theme. So cover design costs less,
Got it.
inside layout. I mean, a lot of things cost less
Yeah.
because you already have a formula now. And so it was easy. Now, and I did the same thing with the Jumpstart books, right? I had six in a row. I just changed the color. That's all I did. I just changed the color
Yeah.
of the cover. It was so easy to do that and quick and cheap. So it is good to brainstorm. Is this going to be a series? Is this going to be, or is it not? It's okay. My client who did the staging, the secret sauce to downsizing. She didn't do a series. Actually, no, she did. She had the secret sauce to staging book, but that was all her book. And then she did the secret sauce to downsizing when she brought in some other friends. So she did have a series. It's just they weren't both compilations.
This is so helpful. It's so helpful um to hear all the different ways and um yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so the final thing that I might cover is okay, so we talked a little bit about costs, like my costs, what it would cost to hire me. And
Hmm.
it is somewhat flexible. Like I'm doing one right now. I did a full book with somebody um, at the end of last year for one price, knowing that she was going to do multiple in the series of that book, but she was going
I
to bring a
see.
co-author in to every next book. So
Oh,
we were able to negotiate a rate for the one price for her book and a couple others so that we could um, make it get a process in place basically so she could continue to duplicate these for inexpensively moving forward. So I'm happy to brainstorm ideas for that. There's just some things that are hard costs on books, and
yeah.
there's some things that are just I can't work for free. So like
No,
but
but this is why um I want to do the first compilation book that I've already got a couple things for the one that I'm going to be in with you.
yeah,
And
good.
then definitely with the local small business marketing. And also I just realized today that um after having interviewed one of the gals who's going to be at the Bay Area Connect conference that there's like for seniors, senior care,
Yes.
navigating there's because I don't know how I would fit in there. I'm not doing their marketing, but um there's so many aspects that she mentioned that I'm like, hmm,
Okay. I had a huge idea for you because I've been kind of contemplating doing this myself. Like I almost did a book a while back about speaking. And so then I was going to find all my speaker trainers and speaker coaches and all of that, and anybody who helps speakers and have them be authors. And then I was thinking, oh, I could do one about blank. So you could do the same thing because you are a marketing person. And so you could do them by topic. You could say bullseye marketing presents or the entrepreneur's guide to something, right? Or whatever. So there is a series. So you can do the guide, the bullseye marketing presents the guide to senior living or whatever. So you can do verticals like that because you're a marketing person. It's kind of like people who have multiple magazines, right? They have multiple magazines, different verticals of
yeah,
topics, right? Themes, and they're a publisher. So they're just positioning themselves as a publisher. Like when I worked for the Sacramento Bee newspaper, I would, in order to sell ads, I would get creative. I actually did this strategy when I was selling advertising at the Bee newspaper. I was, okay, I need to fill a page, right? I need to fill a page of ads. What can I do? I can go to a shopping center and go get all those stores within that shopping center and do a shopping center ad, which
yeah.
fills the whole page. So if you want to spend more, you get a bigger spot. If you want to spend less, you get a little spot. And then you have the shopping center logo in the middle, shop this center. And, and I did so many of these compilation pages in newspaper advertising that got me to my goal. So it was a way to get to my goal. Instead of just selling the little ad to the little entrepreneur
Yeah.
randomly in the paper, I created a page worth their whole shopping. So it made them look like they each got a full page ad because even just if they included a teeny little ad, like a business card size, right? And so it is a way for people who don't have quite the investment money to spend on advertising, marketing, sales, and all the things to write one little chapter, have one investment like that, because a full book you're paying anywhere from 6,000 to sometimes people are charging $40,000 to publish a book, which includes usually some PR and stuff like that. But like 6 to 12,000 is very normal to pay somebody to publish a book, and you have to write all of it. That doesn't even include any coaching usually. Okay, for
And
most
it just
publishers.
occurred me to another. another topic because I'm in the middle of both the senior care stuff, but also like my nephew and his fiance, okay, they make a lot of money and they hired a wedding planner.
Yes,
But
those people
what
will spend money on advertising for sure.
but
See,
what if you couldn't afford to have a wedding planner? You
yeah.
know, like what like if you're a wedding planner
You mean
or
writing a book about wedding planning, like do it yourself? Which is funny that you say that because I had a client one time who was a floral designer and we created the DIY wedding platter guide, like an online training for how to do your own wedding flowers. So yeah, you're thinking of a book that has all the
well, yeah,
experts
I
in it
mean
that
it's
teaches you
it's
how to do your own
about,
wedding.
like how do you maybe you don't do your own flowers, but maybe you have like, you know, how do you evaluate how do because how do you evaluate venues? How do you find venues? And then how do because there's all these like okay, this is a little bit off topic, but I just totally found that there's this whole thing now where they take old phones and people then they have a like a SD card that goes in it, and people then at the wedding pick up the phone and they send messages to the bride and groom.
Huh.
Um, and that's just one, there's all these like services that I didn't even know about for I mean, I went to a wedding several years ago that had the best thing ever, a donut wall.
I've seen those.
I loved the donut
I've
wall.
seen that.
I was my favorite thing about the wedding, I didn't eat cake after that. I prefer a donut anyways.
That is
But
funny.
it just also like what are some of the alternatives for, there's all
Yeah.
this
I could see
basically,
your mind racing. You're thinking of all the different industries or groups of industries and businesses that you could potentially do a book on and get a bunch of experts into and then put out there into the world. And then that becomes the guide. And that could be great for the authors too, because
yeah,
they're not going to sell the DIYers, right? So like people
no,
that do their own oil changes or people that are going to do their own research and not hire anybody or people that are going to do their own wedding flowers, they're not hiring the service professional anyways, so you might as well have an option for them to buy if they're a DIYer or even if they want to just get more information on a thing. So it's a great strategy and a thought process with this. Now, I will tell you at one point I thought of doing like offering like three books at one time. Like I thought, oh, I'll have this kind of book and this kind of book and this kind of book, three
yeah,
different themes and three different, and I didn't do it at the time, but I had an idea. Like, and this is where you don't always implement every idea you have because they should wait or some things, right? So it's a lot to handle to do that kind of a thing, but there's nothing wrong with doing like one book every 6 months or maybe one a year
yeah,
with a different theme to whet
that's
your,
kind of what I'm thinking of,
especially if
that
you're just adding this as an income stream to what you're already doing.
yeah.
Um, I get that it gets exciting and you could totally do multiple books. I'm also a realist, and so I want to make sure people can do do only
Yeah,
what they
I mean,
handle.
and for me, the first one I want to do is really about small business marketing. And I know that there are different people, like I can think of.
We just have to brainstorm who this is for, yeah, who the reader is and who the authors need to be. And then we
Yeah,
set up a plan to who you're going to contact and what they're going to get and all the things. I think the very first book that you do because of what you do should be something that elevates your expert status for sure.
yeah,
So that'll help get you on more stages, get you into more rooms to sell or give away those books and or get more authors into other things as well as sell your own stuff. So definitely starting with a book like I did the Jumpstart Your Blank book because I help people with a lot of different things. And so it made sense. And a lot of those people were clients of mine already, and they jumped into the book with their expertise. So it went hand in hand with my Jumpstart Your Biz Now, Jumpstart Marketing, and Jumpstart Publishing brand to do Jumpstart Your blank. Now it was a really weird title because people would call it Jumpstart Your, and I'm like, no, 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 you have to say the blank, like, because people fill in the blank. Anyways, so we have to, so I've learned that lesson too, like that the title has to be good.
Well, I mean, I have like I have a website that I held and then didn't hold and then went back and bought it, which is called Home Turf Marketing.
Hmm,
Um,
that's
that
not
was,
bad.
yeah. Uh,
But it also doesn't go with Bullseye. So we could look at it if you want to really get that brand as one of your brands for sure. It could be Home Turf
yeah.
Publishing. So another thing is I encourage people to get their own publishing brands. So
Oh,
some people will use my publishing logo on the back of their book, like Mel did in the beginning. She used her logo and my Jumpstart Publishing on the bottom, but now she doesn't use my Jumpstart Publishing. She has her own publishing brand.
yeah.
And so sometimes it's good to think of that ahead of time. I know one of my solo book clients did that. Um, Whereas this gal only did one so far, and she had Jumpstart Publishing. Just because I put my logo on it doesn't mean that I'm in control. I'm not. It's just a logo. And it's in the copyright, my contact information because I'm the publisher, but nothing is under my account, nothing is under my name, nothing is under my control. It's all under the host's control and accounts everywhere. It's just I'm lending them the market, the logo to use. So there's all kinds of ways, and we just have to figure out what the end goal is first, and then figure out the way that works for each co-host.
Well, so I, as you know, I'm packing to go tomorrow. Um, so, but this is so great.
I
This is,
think, yeah, and I'm happy to talk to you more. Was there any specific questions that go with the whole flow? And then I'm happy to stop the recording. And the one thing I did not talk about yet is the actual cost. So we talked about, if you have 10, 11 authors, I think it's up to 12, and I'll do it for like $9,000. So you pay me 9,000, you get whatever you can get from those 11 or 12 authors. Um, and that includes you. And then as far as money wise, whatever you want to charge them and whatever we can add in value to make it more worthwhile, then great. And then there are additional costs. So this is where we have to look at that. So there's editor costs and there's cover design costs. I usually include the layout of the inside stuff just because I control that guy over. He's done all my books and he's amazing. And I just don't give him to anybody. So I cover the cost on that, it's pretty minimal anyways. But cover design, we go to a place where you get like dozens of ideas and options to choose from because I think most people want to see lots of options on cover design to be able to see what they're looking for. Most people don't come out of the gate and go, I know exactly what I want my book cover to look like. And even if you did know that, I guarantee you most people won't like that when you survey it out. I'm like, the first book I did, I had the covers, I had to redesign. I think I designed like 30 something covers. And that was back when you didn't do that. You had one cover designer that gave you one or two options and you choose. And I didn't like them. And they just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And I made up my own. And nobody liked the ones that I wanted to use. And so I had to, you just go with the majority because you don't want to have a book cover that people don't like or aren't attracted to. So, anyways, cover design is 400. And then editor is kind of a wild card because a lot of them charge like $1 a word. So it really does depend on how long the book
dollar
is.
a word.
$1 a word. Is it $1 a word? 1 cent per word? 1 cent per word. Hold on. That
Thank
was wrong.
God. Dollar per
Right? A
word.
dollar is bad
Dollar
because
per
most
word.
books are like
I'm
40,000
ditching my
words.
day job and going for that job.
40,000 times 0.01. Let me see. Yeah. It could be 1 to 3 cents per word. Sometimes it can be anywhere from like 800 to a couple thousand. Let's just put it there.
Okay.
Now it also depends, but I don't think you need as much editing when I'm looking through the chapters because
Yeah.
in a regular book, yeah, we just go straight to the editor. I don't actually read the whole book and do a lot of formatting with my solo book authors because I am not capable of doing that whole book thing. But I am so capable of taking a chapter and figuring out how to zhuzh it for each author, right? And make
Yeah.
it fit the theme. So by the time we're done zhuzhing everybody's chapter, they're all very congruent. They're all very almost all done with like punctuation issues and a lot of the storyline issues and developmental copy issues. And when we send it to, we usually just need to send it to a proofreader, not necessarily a full-on editor. So sometimes it can only cost you, $500 or $800 to do the final editing, making sure that, things are said the right way and we didn't catch wrong words or, wrong
Yeah. The
sense.
proofreading is, I mean,
I think it's important. You don't want to put out a trash book. Again, we have to
oh,
think of the reader. If the reader's starting to read a book and it looks like and it's hard to read because of that,
no,
they will just
I'm
put it
with
away.
you because I read a lot and I was an English literature major
Yeah.
and I'm a big spell like just looking at oh, got it. I'm a big speller
Really? Sure.
and
I mean, I've read
I
books that have the wrong there tense or,
I
people don't
I
catch
if I could make money on the internet catching spelling errors every day, I'd make millions because
it.
there's even the best edited
Yeah.
things that I read are still have problems. So,
Yeah.
um,
Then you still sometimes get mistakes, but everybody's human. So, usually they fix their mistakes. And sometimes you don't see the mistake until you actually get the book in hand and you're like, oh, well, that's not supposed to be there. And
I,
then you have
you
to,
know what?
you can change it though. It's easy to change those things after the fact.
But the other thing too is that you have to make an allowance that there's going to be a mistake because there's humans involved, and even AI still doesn't figure out sometimes the difference between there, and there. And the English language is not, it's the second hardest language in the world after Chinese. So, um,
So in
but it's
the final cost is buying ISBN numbers. And
how
if you're
much?
going to do multiple books, then you just buy a 10 pack and it's like
Oh,
$80 for a
that's,
10 pack of ISBNs. But in order to do a paperback, you must have an ISBN number in it. You don't
yeah.
necessarily have to have an ISBN in an ebook, but you have to have an ISBN in the paperback. So
Well,
we
because
talk
I
about
think
that. So yeah, your extra cost could be anywhere from 1,000
to
to
2000.
2,000 or so, perhaps, on top of paying me. And then you do have to buy books for the clients, right? So you want to reserve a little bit, but usually the cost of a book, a skinny book is usually the cost is like 350 or something like that. A fatter book could be maybe four. I know these really fat books that I've just done a few of are like 550, which is the cost of the book. So that'll depend too, which is why I think a lot of people only give 3 to 10 copies of the book to the clients. But if you tell them ahead of time, um, I personally would rather have a bigger investment to be able to give them 20 copies at the end, if not
Yeah.
more, because I think it empowers them to do something with them. If you only
I
give somebody a couple copies, they're not going to do as much. And we want them to do something because that gets the book in more people's hands
That's,
for all the authors.
my objective might be to get like 50 copies in their hands, you know?
So then we got to build that price in, right? So we got to build
Yeah,
in a price of say $6 a book just in case into what you're going to give them. So that's 300 bucks. So you want to make sure you add 300 bucks to whatever you want to charge so
it
that
sounds like a lot individually, but when you're talking about $300,
it's
that's
not. And then they can
No.
go sell the book. They can sell it for 20 or whatever. So if they have 50 books times 20, that's 1,000. So it's not that,
And you
yeah.
know, and getting it into people's hands is really, I mean, because I was just reading an article the other day, and it was interviewing somebody. And also, to be honest with you too, I know a lot of people are doing podcasts and they're doing it really well, but what it sounds, one, this is a great opportunity to go get on podcasts so you don't have to produce your own. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of people want to try to produce their own, but that's a whole another complexity, you know? Mm.
agree.
So, all right, I gotta run.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And if anybody
And
watches the replay,
we're gonna do this. I just,
okay,
like I said, my mind is focused on getting out of town.
I got you. We'll have another call and we'll
We're
figure it out.
totally,
Okay.
I'm really, this is, I didn't even think about it as a making money proposition.
Well, and it's worth it. It's worth it because you're lending your expertise to them. You're sharing it with all of your following. You're positioning it and you're corralling everybody. You're paying the publisher and all the things.
But
So
that's
it's,
the thing that I'm
yeah,
good at. Corralling people is
yeah,
what I'm good at,
good. You do
and
need to have that skill. So I'm talking to other people right now that might be watching
that's
because
right. That's right.
you have to be good at corralling and you have to be good at asking people to do this with you. If you don't feel comfortable asking people, they're not just going to raise their hand easily. So it's probably not a good time unless you're good at asking. So I think you are good at asking. So we'll let you go, but thanks for being here
Oh
and
my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, this is such incredible. And I have to say, the reason that I wanted to get on this call that I was so inspired by was when I read another book. I go through swag bags and sometimes you're like, oh, okay. And then one day I picked up one of the books and I opened it up and I said to myself, that's it? This is how long it is? This is crazy that it's actually simple.
it is.
Like it wasn't, I had this fear like it was going to be, you know, writing like War and Peace, and it wasn't.
No,
It
that would
wasn't.
be those two books on top of here. I love those clients, but they wrote like 60,000 word books or something like that. So they're
But
300,
when I read the
360 pages. That's a big fat book.
yeah, and my attention span and when I read the book, I was like, "Oh, this is easy." And I like a short book. Business, I mean, if I'm going to read a fiction book, it's okay that it's longer. But if I'm going to read a business book, I got to get to like I got to get to the point quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of time.
No, we usually advise them to do like a quick hook on the first sentence or question of the chapter to
Yeah.
because like say the chapter is about divorce. Well, and say you haven't been divorced. Why would someone stop and read a chapter about divorce if they're not going through divorce, they're not even married, or they don't think about divorce, and why would they care? They would skip that one. But if you make a good case for reading it, because it might inspire somebody, then you can hook them in to get them to read that chapter. So we
Or
have
to
to look
help,
at those
maybe
kinds
they
of
know
things.
somebody who's going through a divorce, for
Exactly.
instance, and they
Yeah.
could help them. But I was saying too that I read articles frequently and know there's people get quoted. I just read an article and I'm like, I know that person, and they got quoted because they had a book.
Yeah.
All right, Lovey.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Have a good trip.
Thank